Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and I'd hope the previous member would stay for this debate because he's been talking about how important science is, and that is actually the actual topic of my debate this evening. So I'm very pleased to be able to provide some what I think is quite sensible remarks. The first thing I'd like to say is the previous member on the opposite side doesn't seem to understand the concept of our democracy, which is based on freedom of speech. Now, so too for science. Science is about freedom of speech. It's about the contest of ideas respectfully. And so what is interesting is the previous member made a lot of very personal comments about our Prime Minister, which I find deeply offensive. It is extremely offensive to be talking about the man and not the ball. But anyway, we'll leave it at that. Mr Deputy Speaker, as we face a post-COVID world, it's become even more important that we turn to science, because science will help us build the skills we need for a post-economic recovery. So 75% of jobs in the future slated to require skills in science, technology, engineering and mathematics, or what is commonly termed as STEM subjects. It is now more than ever important that we arm Australians of all ages as they need to be able to understand our tech-led recovery. As a scientist, I've always believed in enabling others through the powerful exchange of ideas. Now, Mr Deputy Speaker, that does not mean gagging ideas. It means listening respectfully, debating them, and then coming to a conclusion that is expert-informed and evidence-based. Science represents an ideal form for this exchange, especially in encouraging greater fascination amongst people of all ages in understanding the world we live in. Now, Mr Deputy Speaker, some people think that science is just something you read about in a book, but in fact, you actually need to go and discover it for yourself or as a scientist. It is about discovery, it's about curiosity, it's about being open-minded. Our country depends on problem solvers who are educated, trained and curious. Boosting the confidence and engagement of our next generation in STEM students, especially among young women, is fundamental to our government's agenda of ensuring the next generation is prepared for the future of work, a future that is underpinned by the growth of the knowledge economy. Mr Deputy Speaker, as a medical researcher for many years, I spent time in the profession understanding the importance of science, technology, engineering and maths. It's a real passion of mine, and I'm proud to be a part of a government that is investing deeply into STEM. Indeed, Australia has produced some of the best medical research on the planet. We really do punch above our weight. A unique blend of Aussie character of seeking opportunity but being resourceful and resilient by making do with what we have can be seen equally in the corridors of our research institutes and university as in the outback of our sunburnt country. Having travelled internationally for many years and worked as a professor at a UK university, I believe we have a unique blend of resilience and resourcefulness in our science, and that leads to a very unique approach to our science. The need and demand for skills in STEM have only grown, and we need to make sure that we support our young scientists as they go out into the world. And that takes me to another point, Mr Deputy Speaker, and that is the take-up of STEM subjects, and that this is showing some encouraging results in our education system. I was able to see this firsthand recently when I had a young constituent, Grace, an 8-year-old from a local school in my electorate, Malvern Primary School. She recently visited me in my electoral office to explain to me her amazing idea. Importantly, she was actually awarded an enormous cheque for this amazing idea, a cheque of $10,000, which she received by winning the Origin Energy Company's Little Big Idea competition with her idea. Grace came up with a Kick Me pedestrian button in the wake of the COVID crisis. This idea was to stop people using their hands to touch the buttons at traffic lights and therefore prevent COVID from spreading. I repeat, this is an 8-year-old girl in my electorate who's come up with this idea. During our meeting, we spoke about how she wants to become a scientist when she grows up and find cures for diabetes, since she has it in her family. We had a chat about disease treatments and cures and some of the studies that I've worked on in my career as a medical researcher. After my meeting with Grace, I feel confident that the future will be very bright, especially with even more investment from the Morrison government to back STEM. And my goodness, what a lot of investment the Morrison government is making into STEM and STEM skills for young Australians. We've provided significant funding for initiatives to teach and learn STEM in early learning in schools, and this was announced in the recent 2020 budget. and it includes $9.6 million to extend and evaluate the Primary Connections Science by Doing and Resolve Mathematics by Inquiry science programs to support student learning, including resources for teachers. It also includes $6.7 million to support the Foundation to Year 2 expansion of the Early Learning STEM Australia program to improve STEM literacy and numeracy in Australian schools. It included $4.8 million to extend and evaluate the STEM Professionals in School program by partnering teachers with STEM professionals to enhance STEM teaching practices and deliver engaging STEM education in Australian schools. A further $4.4 million to extend and evaluate the Let's Count program to help develop early numeracy skills of disadvantaged children, and $2.8 million to extend and evaluate the Little Scientist program to help early learning educators to build their skills and confidence in STEM so that they can lead fun and inquiry-based learning. The government is also providing $1.5 million to support the delivery of artificial intelligence in schools under the Australian Technology and Science Growth Plan as part of the $29.9 million Artificial Intelligence Capability Fund measure. And finally, $9.5 million to strengthen the capacity of teachers across Australia to teach mathematics and numeracy through online professional development courses for teachers of Foundation to Year 10 students, supported by face-to-face professional learning and a repository of teaching learning resources through an online mathematics hub. All music to my ears, Mr Deputy Speaker. But more than that, our government has a focus on women in STEM. The Morrison government's Women's Economic Security Statement, which has been handed down for the second time in this year's budget, builds on our commitment for women in STEM. If we are to bridge the gender pay gap, then it is critical that we equip women and girls to gain the skills to access high-skilled, high-paying jobs. That is why the Morrison government is providing an additional $14.5 million to support women and girls looking to enter STEM fields. The government is providing additional funding for the Women in STEM and Entrepreneurship Grants program, called the WISE program, and to date, this WISE program has provided $8 million to 46 organisations, supporting a range of projects that have increased girls' and women's participation in STEM and entrepreneurship. The government is also committing $25 million for the Women in STEM cadetships and advanced apprenticeships to create STEM career pathways for up to 500 women through the industry-sponsored advanced apprenticeship-style courses starting just next year. Mr Deputy Speaker, I encourage anyone in my electorate, or really right across Australia, interested in any of these programs to apply, and if they don't know how to apply, contact me, because I'm really very interested in mentoring women in STEM and making sure that we can provide the grants that are needed to get women back into STEM, make sure that they participate in STEM in greater numbers. Mr Deputy Speaker, on this side of the House, we know that science and technology are fuelling a transformation in the workforce. That is why the government has passed legislation to increase the number of graduates in areas of expected employment and growth and demand, including STEM and IT. This will incentivise students to make more job-relevant choices, which will lead to more job-ready graduates by reducing the contribution of areas of expected employment, growth and demand. Mr Deputy Speaker, we know the jobs of the future that are expanding at speed are in health, are in IT, are in psychology, and we want our education to provide for those students so that they are job ready for the explosion of jobs in these areas. This is particularly important as we look to pivot to new market opportunities as a reliance on our resources shift in the new energy order that is actually evolving as we speak. We need to better educate and train the next generation in STEM to ensure we grasp these opportunities with both hands. And Mr Deputy Speaker, this includes investment in renewables, investments in batteries and storage, investments in hydrogen. We have a $500 million commitment to building a hydrogen export industry, and this is to be welcomed and is part of the first low emissions technology statement that has been delivered most recently by the Minister for Energy and Emissions Reduction, Angus Taylor. Now, the Minister had 5 stretch goals in this low emissions technology statement. Technology, not taxes, is what we have been driving fast forward when we're looking to an opportunity of a green and renewable future. Mr Deputy Speaker, science is a contest of ideas, just like politics, and we should champion scientific solutions for the challenges we face. We can achieve this through investment and actively encouraging more participation in STEM, particularly among women. As we emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic, we need to create an agile and innovative economy with high-skilled, high-paid jobs. Investment in STEM is key to achieving this. Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker.